Now joining me via Skype from Abuja is Kabir Adamu, Security Risk Management Specialist and Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. Good morning.
Now, I wonder what came to mind when you heard the president asking that AFRICOM be relocated to Africa.
Frankly, it was something that I never thought I would hear in my lifetime, mainly because during past administration, precisely under the Obasanjo administration, the issue had been mooted, and the type of opposition that was mounted against it meant that perhaps Nigeria as a country had established a policy that meant we don't want either AFRICOM in Africa or anywhere in Nigeria. Now, of course, in international relations, the only thing permanent is your interest. And so it's obvious that the government as a whole has come to a position that it feels the presence of U.S. forces in Africa would help solve some of the security challenges that the continent and of course Nigeria is facing. So I was a bit, on the one hand, pleased that we're responding to changes within our both territory and outside our territory, and that our foreign policy is also responding to those changes accordingly. Now, again, the second thing that sort of concerned me is have people been carried along? What types of consultations did the government do before arriving at such a position? So on the one hand, I felt well pleased, but then on the other hand, I was a bit apprehensive, and I think I've had some commentators actually, opposing the call, which tells me that unfortunately a lot would need to be done by the government in terms of sensitization and carrying the people along to understand why it reached that position.
All right. Now, before we get to how this will put a spin on the fight against the issues bordering on insecurity, talk to us about why it is important to have that conversation with everyone in terms of consulting those critical stakeholders in this aspect.
One of the major challenges that we're having and that has led to insecurity in the country is the perception of marginalization, and sometimes real marginalization, and the yawning gap, I would say, between government and the people. And so where decisions like this that, it's an established fact that there are a significant population, part of Nigeria, that is opposed to having U.S. Troops, as it were, in Africa. The good thing, or to an extent, is that the government has not gone to the extent of calling for the base to be established in Nigeria. But it's very likely that that's an option too on the table. Now, if that is going to happen, then it's going to create another new level of discussions. And I think the country is already faced with several issues that are dividing us. And so I do not think at this moment we can afford another issue. So it's very important, especially in a democratic system like the one we're running, to engage with people, carry people along, so that they are supportive of the move and the policy that is being contemplated.
So how would this now put a spin on our fight against the insecurity if AFRICOM is relocated to Africa and perhaps Nigeria?
So I'm going to divide my response into two. The international dimension of our security challenges. It's on record, and we've spoken about this extensively. You have, as the station, covered it extensively. Libya, as an example, is one of the major reasons why we're in the situation we are. Recently, Chad happened, and we've been discussing about Chad. Then, if you recall, when the Islamic State was dislodged, and to an extent Al-Qaeda in Syria and Iraq, there is a general consensus by world global analysts that the Sahel is the new sort of rallying point for jihadists across the world. And unfortunately, because the Lake Chad Basin is one of the other major points in the Sahel where these terrorists are converging, Nigeria is at the receiving end of a lot of these activities. And so that means whatever the US can do, which is the global leader in anti-terrorism, as it were, whatever it can do to reduce the convergence of this terrorism in the Sahel would definitely be a good step. So if AFRICOM is based somewhere in Africa, perhaps somewhere in the Sahel, like I said, its presence in Nigeria is not off the table. It's a possibility. Now, if that would happen, then it means a lot of things, both in terms of skill sets, in terms of tactical capabilities, in terms of intelligence gathering, and in terms of direct support to national troops that are within the region. We could see some changes, but that's on the international level. We could discuss issues around recruitment by these groups, around their equipment, disposition, how they are able to gather equipment and then move this equipment across countries. These are all things that the US AFRICOM, if it's based in Africa, could help either directly or through support to national troops reduce. Now, with regards to the internal security challenges that are facing countries like Nigeria, I do not think the US can do a lot to reduce that. It's a responsibility that these governments have. It's a responsibility that we as Nigerians have. And it's something that we need to take the bull straight on and address. We cannot depend on any other country to challenge that. A lot of these issues are governance issues. And there is no amount of international support that would help us challenge this, our issues to deal with as a country.
All right. Security Risk Management Specialist and Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited, Kabir Adamu. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me. Stay safe.
And you as well.